Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are really plunging into a massive stack of sources from a listener.
Yeah, this one is quite a ride.
It is. The material centers on this high stakes world where, satin meets scandal.
Hmm.
We're following the life of a Seattle wedding consultant who finds herself navigating just the ultimate disaster.
And we're not talking about a seating chart mix-up. This is a full-blown criminal conspiracy.
Exactly. Orchestrated not by some shadowy figures, but by her own clients and her own professional associates.
Right. This deep dive is, it's less about choosing centerpieces and a lot more about motive, means, and opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
We're tracking a series of events that just keeps escalating. It starts with this one disastrous society wedding, but it ends in a really dangerous investigation. We're talking corporate fraud, kidnapping, betrayal, the works.
So our mission today is to trace all these threads of evidence. We're starting with just a single dropped business card, a very specific, sickly sweet scent.
That scent, yeah, it keeps coming back.
It does, and we need to understand how all these personal secrets and, this intense professional rivalry twisted what should have been a lavish wedding into a full-blown criminal enterprise. We really have to analyze how easily corruption can just hide behind this facade of absolute refinement.
It's a study in contrast, really. The consultant, her name is Carnegie, she wants to be seen as this, nonconformist professional.
Right.
But she finds herself in a world where that nonconformity is really just a distraction from all the rot that's happening right underneath the surface.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
And we have to start exactly where all the trouble began, at Circum House.
The scene of the crime, so to speak.
The setting is just,
Yeah.
It's everything here. We're at Circum House, this grand Victorian mansion for rent in Seattle. On paper, it should be perfect.
Perfect.
But the atmosphere immediately feels strained. You can feel it. The consultant is dealing with the intense pressure of her first really big society wedding, and she's just determined to make it unique.
And that determination to be unique is actually a crucial character detail. The sources note she has this really strong professional disdain for what she calls those pastel jobs with bows on the butts.
Right.
She just refuses the standard, frothy wedding aesthetics. And this nonconformist attitude, it defines her approach, but it also maybe makes her vulnerable to the judgment of the old guard.
Which brings us to the famous or maybe infamous fashion choice for the bridesmaids.
Do the tuxedos.
Yes, the ladies' tuxedo. They're wearing these long-skirted evening suits made of black damask with white blouses under peplum jackets.
It's a visual declaration. It's a statement. It says, I am sophisticated, I am sharp, and I am serious.
But the seriousness of that outfit just contrasts so starkly with the chaos that's already brewing.
Total chaos. Even before the ceremony starts, the mini disasters are already piling up.
They really are. The bride, Nickie, is already pale. We've got a bridesmaid, Susie, who is just sneezing uncontrollably.
Then there's Michelle, the one destined for tragedy. She's already aggressively drunk on champagne.
And the irony is, the consultant herself brought the champagne to the dressing room to try and ease the tension.
Which just goes to show how quickly things can spiral. And that chaos is just amplified by the arrival of the rival.
Archie Fenner.
The one and only. She's described perfectly silver-haired, aristocratic, maternal, and she has this uncanny resemblance to Meryl Streep.
She's the best-known wedding consultant in the Northwest. And she's
Oh.
supposed to be strictly a guest, right?
Supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yet she keeps popping up, offering these thinly veiled judgments and, highlighting all the mounting failures.
It's a total turf war, just played out with satin and Victorian wallpaper. The only reason Dorothy missed out on managing this wedding was because she was on a Mediterranean cruise.
And you can tell she resents Carnegie for getting the opportunity.
Absolutely. And then there's this other detail that adds this sort of haunting layer of social commentary.
Peetsy Mary.
Exactly. The silent, strange presence of Crazy Mary. She's a local bag lady who's known for attending fancy Seattle weddings.
And Carnegie has a real soft spot for her. She recognizes her as, a harmless presence. But the rival consultant, Dorothy Fenner, had twice had Mary forcefully thrown out of her events.
Right, but Carnegie couldn't bring herself to do that. So Mary is just huddled near the back, silently watching everything unfold. And this small moment, it really highlights Carnegie's compassion versus Dorothy's rigid adherence to high society decorum.
And it also sets up Mary as a potential and completely overlooked witness to the dark events that are about to happen.
And those dark events happen fast.
So fast. The reception just explodes when Michelle, who is drunkenly fighting with her leather-clad boyfriend Sean, unleashes this stream of expletives before backing right into the cake table.
She smacks her hand deep into the wedding cake. The entire top tier just crashes down in this chocolatey splat.
Total chaos.
Yeah.
And Michelle flees. She doesn't just stop there. She grabs the keys to Nickie Perry's prized candy apple red 66 Mustang.
Nickie's car, yeah.
And she goes roaring down this steep, narrow drive toward a really sharp bend at the bottom.
The tragic result is that Michelle dies in a car crash at that bend. It's horrific. But this is where the analysis really has to begin, because the situation pivots from accident to suspicion.
It does, and it's all because of the bride, Nickie.
Her reaction is so strange.
Incredibly strange. Amid her apparent distress, she sort of giggles, then laughs and says, "Michelle won't be driving ever, will she? And I won't be driving the Mustang. God, I love that car."
That immediate focus on the vehicle and the finality of Michelle's inability to drive, it's just so jarring and deeply unsettling.
It's highly suspicious emotional displacement. But Carnegie's professional eye is already working, and this is where it gets really interesting, because our consultant immediately connects the crash to a man she saw earlier.
The handsome, frowning man. She'd seen him entering the house well after the ceremony and just assumed he was a missing third waiter.
But crucially, the driveway dead ends at Circum House. He wasn't just passing through. So Carnegie starts to suspect that this man, who we later learn is Holt Walker, may have been tampering with the Mustang before the crash.
And she finds the first key piece of evidence right then and there. An expensive, muddy business card case dropped near the crash site.
But when she tries to report her suspicion about the man in the rain to the police,
Nothing. Lieutenant Borden, the police officer, he just dismisses it immediately.
he rules the crash reckless driving while under the influence. Case closed.
But Carnegie persists. She asks if evidence could have been destroyed in the severely damaged car. And Borden's response is so sarcastic, he basically suggests the damage was too extensive to reveal much anyway.
And that just pushes Carnegie to keep investigating privately. She feels that the police only saw the high society cliche of a rich, drunken girl and just completely missed the malice.
So the key takeaway from this opening section is this: the public spectacle of chaos.
The smash cake, the drunk bridesmaid, the fatal crash.
It was all used as the perfect cover. The high society setting allowed the police to just quickly dismiss the incident as simple rich people trouble, and they overlooked all the subtle signs of foul play.
Which really highlights how the facade of social privilege can actually be a mechanism for criminal immunity.
Absolutely. So the disaster at Circum House was really just the symptom. The sickness was the financial rot happening just beneath the Parry's veneer.
Let's trace how deep that corruption goes.
Yeah.
Douglas Parry, the father of the bride, he's facing massive external pressure.
Yeah. He is caught up in a federal investigation into securities fraud. It involves King County Savings.
The level of financial pressure here is immense. The CEO of King County Savings, a guy named Keith Guthridge, who is also Nickie's godfather, he's the official defendant.
But the sources are pretty clear that Guthridge is actively trying to shift the blame and all the criminal liability right on to Douglas Parry.
It's this high-stakes corporate feud that has become, existential for the family. The situation is so toxic that they're already getting hate mail about the King Savings case.
Which suggests they're already targets. And potentially, Douglas Parry is trying to blow the whistle on some very powerful, very dangerous people connected to Guthridge.
And all of this professional jeopardy is just complicated by the presence of Grace Parry, Douglas's elegant, young stepmother.
Right. She's stylish, she's used to managing the family's image, and she's in the middle of organizing this major fundraiser for Senator Samuel Bigelow.
And that political involvement creates immediate logistical problems for Carnegie, our consultant, especially when the original caterer for the event, their kitchen burns down.
Wait, let's just pause on Grace for a second. That fundraiser really shows her possessiveness over the family's public image. She is visibly angry when she finds out Carnegie is now involved in the Senator Bigelow event.
Right, she's implying she wants total control over who has access to their professional and political circle.
Exactly. And she quickly asserts control over the financial aspects of everything. She insists that Carnegie just send her the bills directly so Grace can review them before they get paid.
And given what we learn later, that detail is not just a rich woman being controlling, it's the architect securing her oversight mechanism.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, now let's look at the financial red flags that start popping up in Carnegie's own business, Made in Heaven.
Her CPA partner is Eddie Breen. Small, wiry guy, beloved friend of her late father.
And Eddie is constantly pressuring her about being seriously behind this quarter.
Eddie is the voice of sort of cynical reality here. And his perspective on the Parrys is highly revealing. He pressures Carnegie about undercharging this wealthy family, arguing that they deserve to be bilked.
Yeah, he says, Douglas Parry is not standard, for God's sakes. He makes millions off widows and orphans, and you don't have to knock yourself out to hunt down good deals for him.
It's a shocking rationalization. It justifies future wrongdoing by arguing that the wealthy are inherently corrupt, so they're fair targets, and it absolutely foreshadows the embezzlement crisis that's about to hit Carnegie personally.
And the professional alarm bells really start ringing when a check written for Nickie's wedding gown bounces.
A huge red flag.
Huge. And while the merchant later claims it was all cleared up, the incident confirms the Parry family has major cash flow issues, likely directly related to Douglas Parry's legal problems.
And this incident shows Carnegie's vulnerability. As a small, independent business, one bounced check from a society client could just ruin her reputation. The Parry's financial problems are now directly creating problems for her professional life.
It's drawing her deeper and deeper into their instability.
The thematic connection here is crucial. The facade of wealth allows the Parrys to operate in this high-risk world. Their legal troubles, their lack of ready cash, it puts pressure on everyone around them.
And it's the consultant's own trusted circle, specifically Eddie, who is about to crack under that pressure. And that leads to the next major crisis.
Right.
So Carnegie has been professionally insulted by the bouncing check. She's been dismissed by the police about the crash. So she shifts into what she calls her Nancy Drewish study of the evidence.
I love that phrase.
Me too. She focuses on that expensive, muddy business card case she found near the site of Michelle's crash.
This is her commitment to the truth over convenience. She has 3 clues from the wet cards inside: Powerhouse Gym, the 418 Club, which is a pool hall, and Flair Plus.
This small collection of evidence is her only path forward, especially outside of the police's official, closed narrative.
So she enlists her friend Lily, who's this formidable librarian with a really sharp sense of humor, to start checking the locations.
And they start with the gym.
The gym visit is just loud and chaotic, 70s arena rock, aggressive clientele. And while they fail to find the specific owner of the card case, Theo,
Who we now know is the chauffeur.
exactly, they make an unexpected but crucial discovery. Boris Nevsky, the high-end Russian florist known for his ferocious precision and grizzly bear hugs, is a member.
Which is strange. Why is the elite florist connected to a gym that's linked to the crash site?
The pool hall visit at the 418 Club just confirms this connection. Boris Nevsky is also a regular there. It just deepens the mystery.
So the man who handles delicate rose arrangements with this intense professional focus is also frequenting these rough, intimidating places. The pieces of the conspiracy are starting to come together, even if she can't name the architect yet.
But before Carnegie can fully connect Boris to any potential foul play, the threats against the Parry family just accelerate dramatically.
This is where it gets really serious.
It proves how serious the conspiracy is. First, the Parry's celebrated rose garden is savagely destroyed. Bushes dragged out, trampled, hacked to stump.
It's an act of deliberate, visible vandalism. It's targeting their social status.
And then the truly horrific escalation. The murder of Douglas Parry's corgi, Gus.
Just awful. He's found with his throat cut, covered with Douglas's jacket.
And Grace Parry immediately attributes this to Keith Guthridge's goons, which just intensifies the whole feud. The consultant realizes the stakes have moved from, civil liability to actual physical terrorism.
The police are back. Lieutenant Borden is asking questions about the dog. And that persistent, abrasive reporter, Erin Gold, is still hounding her. She is just caught between official suspicion and criminal violence.
And it's at this exact moment of maximum external pressure that the internal betrayal happens.
Carnegie is summoned and just abruptly fired by Grace Parry.
And she's not alone. She has a lawyer and this suave special assistant with her.
The charge is faking bills and embezzlement, and they have the inflated invoices to back it up. Carnegie is professionally destroyed. But the grim truth is that the source of the problem is Eddie Breen,
her CPA partner and longtime family friend.
Let's analyze Eddie's motive here because it's complex. It wasn't malicious.
No, not at all. The sources are clear. He'd been secretly padding the bills to help Carnegie pay off her mother's mortgage. It was this misguided, illegal act of loyalty. He was just trying to help a friend who was financially stressed.
Wait a minute, though. If Eddie was trying to help her illegally by padding the bills to the Parrys, and Grace Parry insisted on reviewing those bills personally, isn't it highly suspicious that Grace waited until after the violence escalated to fire Carnegie?
That's a fantastic point.
She had the evidence of embezzlement, provided by her own CPA, but she only acted when the family drama reached this crescendo.
It absolutely suggests Grace was waiting for the perfect moment to weaponize that financial evidence. She needed to create a narrative where Carnegie wasn't just incompetent, but actively crooked.
So when Carnegie confronts Eddie, he just flies into a rage. He denies it all and screams, "Get out of my house!"
And Carnegie is left completely alone, professionally ruined, facing a possible criminal charge unless she signs an agreement, taking all the blame and remaining silent.
And that agreement would conveniently shield Douglas Parry and, more importantly, Grace's subsequent plans from any further disturbance.
The takeaway here is that the biggest threats don't always come from the enemy outside. They often come from the trusted friend trying to help illegally, or the elegant client who's just waiting for the perfect moment to exploit that flaw.
She's lost her business, her reputation, and her financial security in one fell swoop. She's now the perfect isolated victim.
And it's at this moment of maximum vulnerability that the real wolf, Holt Walker, begins to circle.
He's the handsome, frowning man she saw tampering with the car, and now he's reintroduced as Douglas Parry's attorney.
Holt is the embodiment of high society camouflage. 6'4", astonishing green eyes, a nice laugh.
He's also recently widowed, a detail that adds this layer of tragic sympathy to his whole image. And he has that small, endearing, stubborn bald spot that just makes him seem human.
He's the image of the perfect, successful Prince Charming.
But the initial tension is immediate. When Carnegie asks him about her theory, about the car tampering, he just dismisses it entirely.
He ignores the messy reality of the crash and focuses only on her attractiveness. He immediately asks her out. He wants to control the narrative, even in a private conversation.
So the romance that follows is a completely calculated performance. The first date is a study in this high-flying glamour that just masks a fundamental disconnect.
He flies her via float plane to Victoria, British Columbia, for an expensive, secluded dinner at a place screened by gardenias.
It's the ultimate perfect date setup, but the second half of the date is what exposes the facade.
He insists on taking her to a sophisticated little jazz club, an event he planned meticulously. But Carnegie privately loathes jazz. She finds the trumpet slides queasy and the rhythm too ambiguous.
This is a really powerful analytical moment. Despite all the expense and the effort, Holt doesn't actually know her preferences or even care about her genuine reactions.
It proves his actions are about his performance of romance, not a genuine connection. All surface beauty, no substance, which perfectly mirrors the Parry family's entire situation.
This section also introduces the critical clove cigarette thread. This is the sensory detail that proves the attacks were real and systematic.
Carnegie experiences two chilling intrusions, and they're both linked by this very specific, acrid, sweet, and spicy smell that gives her a cracking pain at her temple.
First, after her date with Holt, she gets home and realizes someone has been in her houseboat, and this faint, acrid scent lingers.
She initially suspects Theo, the chauffeur, but her partner Eddie quickly confirms Theo was asleep at the ferry estate, which is 30 or 40 minutes away. It was physically impossible for him to be the intruder.
But the more terrifying realization is the connection to the garden attack. She remembers that same acrid scent when she felt that cracking pain at my temple, which Theo claimed was just an accidental fall into a tree.
She now realizes the injury wasn't a fall. She was clobbered by someone, likely the intruder. It confirms the physical violence was intentional.
And this is the critical shift. Carnegie learns to trust her sensory observations, the faint smell over the sophisticated narratives from Holt and Theo.
Meanwhile, we have this ongoing, awkward connection with the reporter, Aaron Gold.
The snoopy son of a bitch from the Seattle Sentinel. He is constantly hounding her. He's rude, badly dressed, and he's shorter than her, which she initially finds intensely off-putting.
Aaron is the perfect foil to Holt. Where Holt is slick and planned, Aaron is messy and persistent. But Gold provides genuine insight. He warns her, real life is not just orange blossoms, and these are not nice people.
He has an acute understanding of the danger she's in. He correctly guesses that Holt is tall, dark, and gentile, and is romancing her. His journalistic eye sees right past the veneer.
And despite her initial rejection, he takes her to a minor league baseball game. It's a simple, non-performative date that actually allows her to momentarily forget her troubles.
And the consultant notes she thought he looked wonderful. It hints at this growing, genuine attraction based on a shared experience rather than engineered glamour.
So Aaron Gold represents this messy reality, while Holt Walker represents a carefully constructed illusion. The sources are really setting up the thematic choice that Carnegie will ultimately have to make.
A choice between the man who looks perfect and the man who is loyal.
And the conspiracy stops circling and strikes directly at Nickie during the replacement wedding.
Right, a much smaller, more intimate ceremony at St. Anne's. Carnegie is there as a guest, still reeling from being fired.
The setting shifts from society chaos to surgical precision. Carnegie slips back to the dressing room and finds Dorothy Fenner, the Meryl Streep consultant, unconscious on the floor.
And the strong, sickly, sweet hospital smell of chloroform is everywhere. It links this kidnapping directly back to that acrid scent and the garden attack.
Nickie is gone. The kidnappers leave this terrifying note inside one of Nickie's shoes. They threaten to mutilate her, to cut off her fingers if the police are involved.
The terror is immediate and physically targeted.
And now the complexity of the crime is exposed, and it focuses entirely on Carnegie. Nickie's little cousin, Piper, accidentally provides the crucial evidence that just derails Carnegie's safety.
Yeah, when the panicked adults are gathered, Piper points straight at Carnegie and reveals that Nickie got the necklace she was wearing from Carnegie's purse.
Carnegie had innocently loaned the bridesmaids her mirror and brought her tote bag to the church. And that bag still contained the fake pearls.
So Holt Walker, who is likely panicking that his carefully laid plans are being exposed, immediately suspects Carnegie. He grabs her arm violently, hard enough to hurt, and demands, "Where'd you get the necklace? Where's Nickie?"
This is the physical and emotional break. The charm just vanishes instantly, replaced by this ruthless, hurting violence. Carnegie scratches him fiercely. She draws blood, recognizing the immediate shift from lover to enemy.
The confrontation just confirms her darkest suspicions.
And the ultimate chilling betrayal arrives just moments later. Holt is scheduled to drive Carnegie to the Mount Rainier wedding, where the cover story is that they're honeymooning.
Right, so Carnegie goes back to her houseboat first. She's exhausted, and she falls asleep on the couch.
She's startled awake when two men enter her houseboat. They believe she's out of town since her van isn't there.
She instinctively plunges into the freezing lake water to hide beneath the deck, clinging desperately to the slimy cable. And this act of cold, desperate self-preservation leads to the defining aha moment of the entire narrative.
Hidden beneath the deck, shivering in the icy water, she hears the two men muttering. One man throws a cigarette butt into the water, a clove cigarette.
The scent of acrid smoke confirms this man, Andreas, was the intruder who attacked her in the garden and who had entered her houseboat before.
But it's the second man's voice, this light tenor voice, that provides the final, devastating, and shocking revelation.
It's Holt Walker.
The man she was falling for, the man who represented stability and success, was actively planning her destruction.
The scope of the conspiracy is now terrifyingly clear. Holt and Andreas were searching for the imitation pearl necklace.
Right. Nickie's father had all their jewelry copied. The sources say the real ones have a platinum clasp and the fakes have gold.
So Holt needed the fakes to plant evidence linking Carnegie to the kidnapping. He was making her the scapegoat, the distraction, while they executed their ransom demands.
They systematically built the case against her. We realize Holt had molded her keys at the Senator Bigelow fundraiser when he was suddenly so charming to her. That's how he got access to her houseboat.
The entire relationship, the lavish dates, the easy trust, it was all just reconnaissance and weaponized charm, designed to steal her keys, plant the fake pearls, and destroy her life.
It's the highest form of betrayal. It proves that the sophisticated facade can be the most dangerous mask of all.
And now she has to confront the man she thought was her lover, knowing he is actively planning her demise.
Carnegie is now operating purely on adrenaline and survival instinct. She has to proceed with this trip to Mount Rainier.
She has to pretend to be Holt's blissed-out lover to avoid tipping him off. Every word, every glance is calculated to save her life and Nickie's.
Her strategic thinking kicks in immediately. Aaron Gold provides unexpected and vital assistance by showing up at the dock. He was prompted by a drunken call she made earlier.
Right, and Carnegie makes sure her friend Lily is a witness. She deliberately details their precise route: Tacoma, Elbe, Longmire, all the way up to the Glacier View Lodge. She's consciously laying a detailed trail of evidence for the police to follow.
Holt drives the high-powered Alfa Romeo convertible fast, but he keeps taking these strange, circuitous detours.
Which are likely moves to kill time or meet accomplices away from the main roads.
And Carnegie is forced to endure his presence, constantly acting the part of the devoted, oblivious partner, all while knowing his true intent.
During that tense long drive, she finally connects all the dots about Grace Parry. She realizes Grace was fully complicit, not just a victim.
Grace hired the second caterer, which ensured Holt, the non-waiter, could be present at the wedding. and her timing in firing Carnegie right before the kidnapping.
On those false charges of embezzlement.
It was deliberate. It complicated the evidence trail, and it provided Holt with the perfect, believable motive to frame Carnegie as the thief and kidnapper.
So Grace was the mastermind of the setup. Holt was the handsome executioner. Their motive was pure, selfish greed hidden behind the demands of high society living.
When they finally reach the Glacier View Lodge, the charade has to end. Holt gives Carnegie a key and tries to lure her to bed.
She stalls him. She uses this cold anger and feigned passion, telling him she'll tear him apart in 10 minutes. It buys her time to lock herself in the bathroom.
And her real mission is to grab the imitation pearls from her nylon tote bag. The evidence Holt needs. They were hidden in there like buried treasure.
A frantic lifeline arrives. Eddie, her CPA partner, calls the lodge, warning her the police are at the office, searching for her. Holt's framing operation is in full swing.
But before Eddie can elaborate, the line is cut by Holt, who has slipped in through the swinging doors. The deception is definitively over.
Carnegie flees into the woods. Holt pursues her, using his athletic speed.
She executes this brilliant, desperate tactical move. She uses her change purse as a decoy, heaving it across an avalanche chute.
The sound forces Holt, who is driven by his natural competitiveness and belief in his own physical superiority, to climb the open, difficult slope.
And that gives her precious seconds to escape downhill through the foliage.
Holt crashes into a rock. Carnegie finds him, gravely injured, his sea-green eyes bleached to the silvery desperation. This is the moment of reckoning.
She confronts him. She demonstrates a ruthless resolve that is just necessary for survival, and she demands Nickie's location before she'll get help.
She threatens to leave him to bleed to death or freeze to death or both if he doesn't talk. His survival, purchased by Nickie's life, is just unacceptable to her.
So, broken and desperate, Holt gives up the location. A cabin 3.7 miles down the road from the Trout Pond Cafe, near a dirt track marked by a broken-down orange pickup truck.
Andreas's vehicle. Carnegie races down the mountain in the Alpha. She confirms Nickie's location with Aaron Gold, who drove all the way to Rainier for her. It proves his concern wasn't just journalistic snooping.
They find the dirt track, the orange pickup, and Theo, the chauffeur/kidnapper.
And Aaron, despite his complete lack of physical prowess compared to Holt, he demonstrates this fierce, protective loyalty. He hits Theo with the car, preventing the accomplice from immediately drawing a gun.
They approach the cabin, expecting to find Theo or maybe Holt's other accomplice, Andreas. Instead, they are confronted by Grace Parry, holding a pistol.
Grace confesses everything, the entire elaborate motive. She needed the massive ransom to escape the constraints of her strict prenup with Douglas.
And to cover her failing investment consulting business, which had been bilking elderly widows. A grim callback to Eddie Breen's earlier cynical comment about Douglas Parry.
Holt, her lover since law school, was her accomplice.
The full complexity of the plan is laid bare. Frame Guthridge, frame Carnegie using the fake pearls and the embezzlement charge, and then permanently silence Nickie.
Aaron Gold, despite being wounded, realizes Grace is trying to frame him and Carnegie for the kidnapping and the murder of Theo, who is now lying injured nearby.
So Grace shoots Aaron, shattering his ankle and giving him a concussion. Carnegie is forced inside, where she finds Nickie unconscious, filthy, with crudely cut hair, but alive.
The terrifying climax happens when Grace returns. She attempts to gas Nickie and Carnegie using propane from a cylinder attached to the heater, sealing them in this windowless room.
They are locked in their coffin, already smelling the deadly rotten egg odor of the gas filling the air.
But the violent end is delivered by the dying accomplice. The cabin explodes when Theo, in a final, vengeful act against his boss, rears up at Grace like a grizzly bear just as her pistol fires.
And it ignites the gas. Both Theo and Grace are killed instantly in the massive explosion, which saves Carnegie and Nickie from asphyxiation and confirms the brutal final cost of their greed.
Against impossible odds, Nickie and Carnegie survive the blast and the gas poisoning, though they both require medical recovery.
The investigation quickly confirms all the details. Andreas, the other conspirator, was responsible for the murder of the corgi, Gus. The evidence is now clear that Holt and Grace orchestrated everything, just consumed by greed and high-stakes financial fear.
The facade has been violently dismantled. Holt Walker's handsome image is permanently dissolved, his crimes exposed, and Douglas Parry, in a gesture of deep gratitude and maybe remorse, pays for Aaron Gold's medical recovery.
Covering his shattered ankle and concussion treatment.
The ultimate professional healing occurs when Nickie and Ray finally have their wedding. It's small, elegant, and held at the Cortland Hotel roof garden, the complete opposite of the disastrous Circum House spectacle.
And the irony is, Dorothy Fenner, the Meryl Streep rival, oversees the details, while Carnegie attends as an honored guest.
This is a massive thematic victory for Carnegie. Her reputation is fully restored. It's proved by her survival and her detective work. And on top of that, Joe Salvito, the caterer, offers her a full-time event planning job.
He acknowledges her sharp organizational skills and, crucially, her tenacity. He's offering her a secure professional path away from the precarious world of sole proprietorship that made her so vulnerable in the first place.
So now we get to the core thematic conclusion. The choice between the two romantic interests. The complex relationship with Aaron Gold is finally resolved.
He's recovering, navigating life on crutches. At Nickie's replacement wedding, that initial superficial antagonism is finally dismantled.
Carnegie is powerfully attracted to him, realizing he is the antithesis of the deceptive, dominant male facade put on by Holt. Holt was perfection covering violence. Aaron is methy honesty covering profound integrity.
And if you think about the two men side by side, Holt was a master performer. He used these lavish, impersonal gestures, float planes, gardenias, jazz she hated, to mask a soul of pure opportunism.
His charm was just reconnaissance. His physical presence, 6'4" and handsome, was part of his weaponized trust.
Aaron, in contrast, is the short, loud, badly dressed reporter who simply shows up when it matters. He drove all the way to Rainier because he genuinely cared about her safety, not because he was trying to collect evidence for a story.
His flaws, his physical clumsiness, his abrasive personality were all visible, but his loyalty was absolute.
And the final satisfying twist proves this loyalty. Aaron arrives at the wedding with a date, a pre-brunette named Gail.
Carnegie experiences this momentary pang of doubt, wondering if he was playing games all along, just using her troubles for a story while pursuing someone else.
Gail is quickly revealed to be his somewhat short sister, Gail, who has been nursing him back to health. This detail is everything.
It confirms Aaron's sincerity. There was no deception, no manipulation, no hidden agenda. He wasn't romancing someone else while spending time with Carnegie.
He even laughs good-naturedly at her previous reason for rejecting him, recalling her comment about their height difference.
And she realizes then that Aaron, the flawed, visible human, possessed the integrity and loyalty that Holt lacked. She chose to trust the facts she gathered and the genuine feeling of safety she felt with the man who was genuinely worried about her.
A man who, despite his lack of surface glamour, felt so warm and so safe.
It's a powerful lesson in looking past the superficial measures of success and appearance, especially in a world where corporate fraud and violence hide so easily behind the expensive black damask of a society wedding.
What's fascinating here is the sheer density of motives. I mean, you have Douglas Parry's corporate fraud trial, Grace Parry's prenuptial agreement, her failing investment consultancy that was bilking elderly widows.
Right.
This layered greed created the perfect engine for the crime. But the conspiracy was ultimately cracked by an amateur who chose to trust her persistent sensory observations.
The unique, acrid smell linked to clove cigarettes.
The misplaced card case and the emotional inconsistency of a seemingly perfect lawyer.
So what does this all mean? I think it's a study of trust. We saw Holt Walker, this archetype of success and glamour, weaponize trust. He used charm as a tool for violence and betrayal.
And then there's Aaron Gold, the loud, messy, short reporter whose flaws were all visible, but whose integrity and loyalty proved invaluable. The lesson is simple but hard. When you're searching for truth, often the messiest path is the most honest.
Indeed. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it raises a really important question for anyone navigating a complex world. When everyone has a mask, be it a tailored tuxedo, an elegant silk suit, or the polished credentials of a society lawyer, how do you train yourself to trust the subtle facts you gather and the sensory details you observe over the idealized image that's presented to you?
Because the difference between the gold clasp and platinum clasp on a necklace turned out to be the difference between life and death.
For your final thought, consider this. The initial crime that started this whole conspiracy, Michelle's fatal car crash, was officially ruled reckless driving while under the influence, given that Holt Walker, the eventual executioner, was spotted near that dead-end drive just before the crash, and knowing that Nickie's prized Mustang was one that nobody drove but Nickie, do you think that crash was truly accidental, or was it the violent, strategic opening move that kicked off Grace and Holt's plan to target the Parry family by destroying their most valuable assets? Thank you for diving deep with us.